Welcome everyone to a special scouting episode for my expansion team series. This time I'm not taking a preset draft class. I'm taking the real one, and not only that, we're going to go through the college season and have a look at the best prospects that we can draft in the episode next week. So let's see who's going to be the next superstar. First of all, huge shout out to Nick, who created this roster with real names. I adjusted it a little bit and made a lot of tests to have a good ratio for the draft class, and also you need to ignore the experience. It's not always right, but here in the game, junior players often do not declare for the draft, and I want to have players like Bryce Young, like Bijan Robinson, like Will Anderson, who most certainly will be in the 2023 draft class in real life, so I want to have them here as well. But this is going to be something for next week. This week we are going to scout and watch a few players, and let's start by looking at the best players here in college football. Skill ratings are also not necessarily how it would look for them in real life, but when I'm going to import the draft class, the skills are also going to change, so I did not pay too much attention to that. The only thing that matters here is that Will Anderson is 100 overall, really good, and same for arguably one of the best players right now in college football. He has outstanding stats here, and Brock Bowers won't be available for our draft, but maybe someone to remember for next year's draft. And right now, together with Will Anderson, the best defensive player is Jalen Carter. He's a freak. 97 overall strength here in the game. He's going to be really good. Let's see if he can have a good season. Also worth noting, Bijan Robinson, 3-down running back, good vision and also decent hands, so he could also be someone that we could target even for the expansion team. Marvin Harrison, one of the better wide receivers right now, but won't be eligible for the 2023 draft. And of course, quarterbacks, a big topic. And on top of this list are both Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. Really interesting players, and also here should be quite good in the college season, and both will for sure declare for the draft. So this is going to be very interesting. Is quarterback a position of need for us? Our rookie Desmond Ridder was Rookie of the Year. Here, Will Levis, a little bit overrated right now in reality, I have the feeling. But again, back to Desmond Ridder. He had not the best stats, but we only played 14 games. So in terms of total yards and touchdown, we need to have a little bit lower expectations. And really interesting, Anthony Richardson here could declare next year for the draft, could also wait another year. And for him, it's really interesting to see that he's the perfect Madden QB with his agility, with his speed, and also outstanding arm. Let's see if he might be someone who could be available even round 2 for us. That's also something I can say. I did my best to adjust the ratings to also have a reasonable draft order. I tested that multiple times, adjusted the ratings, so that was a lot of work. And right now I'm pretty happy with the draft class, how this is going to turn out. But of course, there will be some players who are going to fall. It is not a guarantee that here Bryce Young and CJ Stroud will be top 10 picks. In the end, this is just a game. And Wolverine Studios is doing a good job to connect both the college game and the pro football game. But yeah, to emulate reality, not everything is perfect. But let's jump into the season. First 3 weeks are played, and directly we're seeing that the Ohio State Buckeyes are on top. And where is Alabama? So not the best start for them if we're looking to the dashboard. They had some problems. They're currently 2-1. But Bryce Young, 3 games, already 11 touchdowns. Also 2 interceptions, but yeah, not the worst start to the year, I would say. So he's not the problem right now. Also won Southeastern Offensive Player of the Week in week 3. The offense looks really good. Also a great start for Brennan Armstrong, the Virginia QB. Virginia is currently on rank number 5, and he's playing really good so far. So not the best ratings, but could be someone who sneaks into the draft and could be an option. Rushing touchdowns, no Bijan Robinson so far, but Tank Bigsby leads the league, 89 overall here. Not sure if he's going to declare for the draft. Also not many familiar names, of course. Players who are playing for worse teams who have worse competition have the option to get 9 sacks in 3 games. But also Will Anderson here with a decent start to the year. Of course, Alabama plays against the top teams in college football, and he's already able to get 4 sacks. So a really good start to the year for him. And in week 4, we have another loss for Alabama, so they're really struggling here, losing against LSU, and this time Bryce Young with a really, really worrying performance. Not his best game, that's for sure. On the other hand, CJ Stroud and Ohio State have their 3rd win and already 15 touchdowns for CJ Stroud in 3 games. He is on fire. Also not sure how a QB rating of 257 is possible, but he earned it. We're in week 8 and we have a new top-ranked team, Penn State. And after that, Stanford, LSU, and East Carolina. So, as I said, of course, not everything is perfect here in the college game. Ohio State had their first loss and are now 5-1. Are they still able to get into the playoffs? There are a few more games left to play. The season is over and we're taking again a look at Alabama because they have been a negative surprise. 4 losses on the year. Bryce Young, 30 touchdowns in 12 games. Also, from my perspective, really good, 7.3 touchdown percentage. And also here, Will Anderson leads the team in terms of sacks. He has 12 sacks on the year, no forced fumbles, but at least he was a threat on the edge. But yeah, 1 sack per game. Could have been a little bit better, but yeah, stats are not everything. Eli Ricks also going to be a target, or could be a target for us on corner, or I mean, he's going to declare for the draft, and he really made an impression. 5 interceptions on the year. Alabama is stacked with so many good players, but still 4 losses. And Ohio State came back stronger. Only 1 loss on the year, and the top-ranked teams are LSU, Ohio State, Miami, and Penn State. Surprisingly how good Stanford performed. Also Texas is up there in the top 10. Alabama only 21 as said, but Ohio State with a great comeback. Only 1 loss, and one reason for the good Ohio State performance was CJ Stroud. I just said, 30 touchdowns for Bryce Young is not too bad. 64 for CJ Stroud is incredible. he has this 252 QB rating and only 8 interceptions, or is only the right word. I mean, he's so good. And maybe a lot of deep throws that led to interceptions. Or rather, the problem was mid-area. But CJ Stroud definitely a candidate to go number 1 overall. Won't be in range for us, but still interesting to see. He performed really, really good. Marvin Harrison, leading receiver for this team. Again, not someone for this year's draft, but maybe for next year. And now taking a look at overall stats. Stats are not everything, but they are something we can use for scouting and can use as an input to decide which player to draft. Tanner McKee, also someone who's going to be in the draft, only 88 overall. I say only because compared to other college players, that's rather low. A really good arm, not really mobile here, but played a good year with Stanford and made them the 5th ranked team. And looking at passing touchdowns, CJ Stroud leads both yards and passing touchdowns. Also similar list here, Tanner McKee in the top 3. Rushing yards, there is Bijan Robinson. Started slow, but came back really strong. 1,300 yards in 13 games. An average of 5.6, 6 touchdowns, and also was involved in the passing game. So Texas used him, could have used him more in terms of touchdowns, but at least he has the yards, and he is also someone worth mentioning for next year's draft. Tank Bigsby leads the league in rushing touchdowns. Taking a look at the wide receivers, 2 freshmen are leading the league, and the first eligible draft player is JEVIN FRETT from Louisiana, really agile, has the tag deep threat. Not sure where he's going to end up in the draft, but could be someone worth noting with his 19 touchdowns. He played a good season for Louisiana. Also, Jackson Smith-Njigba here, one of the better available wide receivers for the draft. He will also declare, and he is especially good with catching the football. Maybe not the fastest one compared to others, but he has really reliable hands and also comes up in the top 15 in terms of touchdowns. But not too many familiar names here. JALEN HYATT, of course, deep threat, the fastest player here. And also someone who's going to declare for this year's draft. Natural talent, a trade worth noting for us. So let's keep him in mind. 16 touchdowns, just barely over 1,000 yards. And only started 8 games. Not sure if injury was a problem for him. But he is a deep threat, or the definition of a deep threat. Also not sure where he's going to end up in our draft. Maybe he's a first round pick. Could even be the case that he is not even projected to get drafted. As said, the draft class is highly volatile and changes every time. So hard to predict. And although he's a 99 overall, that does not mean that he's a guaranteed superstar for the NFL. That's something I honestly really like about combining the college game and the pro football game. You have all the stats here. You can see everything, every stat, every rating, but in the end, this does not translate one-to-one to the NFL. And that is realistic, let's be honest. Really good college players, we saw that they just don't work in the NFL, and this is also going to be a case here in this game. Looking at the sacks, Will Anderson is here, no defensive tackles, so Jalen Carter did not perform in terms of sacks. And looking at his stats, it was by far not his best season. Only 1 tackle for loss, only 25 tacklings and 2 sacks. Yeah, not even a forced fumble, so really, really bad for him. Not sure if this impacts his draft stock, but could be really good for us if he falls. We're picking around 16, if I remember correctly, so maybe Jalen Carter falls out of the top 10 and could be available for us. Maybe he's not even good in the draft class. Let's see. Of course, I cannot scout every player who's going to be draft eligible. So that's why I took a closer look at maybe the top 5 best players in real life, currently offensively and defensively. Let me know what you think about this episode to look into college scouting and to true ratings and stats and how this is going to turn out to maybe see some sleepers. Especially drafting round 5 to 7, we can take a shot at someone with outstanding stats or ratings here in the college game and see if it's translatable to the NFL. I like that it's something different compared also to what I've did in the Texans rebuild, where I just used the existing players. So again, let me know if you like it and what else you would like to see here for future college scouting episodes. But now let's get into the playoffs. Cotton Bowl, Miami against Ohio State. Is Ohio State able to get into the finals? They are. CJ Stroud with another outstanding performance, 5 touchdowns. And the opponent is, well, it's Penn State in a close game against LSU. They beat the number 1 ranked team, and now we have Penn State against Ohio State in the college football championship. Is CJ Stroud able to leave college football with a national championship? Yes, he is. 3 touchdowns, leads the team to the college football championship. Smith-Njigba with a really good game. Again, a good slot receiver also has the trade slot receiver here. And yeah, Stroud really able to leave a mark here. Best player in college football, without a doubt, and Ohio State wins the college football championship. The season is over, so let's look into the 2022 awards. I'm pretty sure that CJ Stroud is going to be up there, but there are different awards for both offense and defense for every position. And again, this does not necessarily mean that these players are going to be outstanding in the NFL, but worth mentioning and worth noting to maybe get a late round draft steal. CJ Stroud, of course, most outstanding player, and also offensively and best quarterback and best outstanding senior QB. I know he's not a senior, but I needed to adjust that to make sure that he's going to declare for the draft. Jackson Smith-Njigba, the best wide receiver, so I assume that he's going to be a locked round 1 player. With him, we're getting a reliable hands, something where we need to remember that he's not the fastest guy. Best defensive end here from Minnesota, Danny Strigo, not the best overall, so not even sure. He's also a sophomore, so he cannot declare for the draft, so maybe for next year. Also here, VIRGIL DEVLIN not able to go into the draft. Surprisingly, that Bijan Robinson did not win this award. And tight end, also no Brock Bowers. Kate Stover, he's a senior, so this is something we could take a closer look at. Also his personality ratings, great leadership, outstanding work ethic and competitiveness. I don't know why he has 80 tackling. Does not need to have that as a tight end. But really, really interesting prospects, well-rounded, and 90 overall. And looking at the season, only 1 touchdown, so Oh, he was really good uh, in run blocking. 61 pancakes, 1 sack allowed. So he was rather a pass blocking or run blocking tight end. 52, 56. I don't know if this is a lot for tight ends, but he had a good year. Worth mentioning, Paris Johnson, the best tackle, and he's also going to the draft, and he is really good. Also really well-rounded, and 109 pancakes, 2 sacks allowed. So he is tackle number 1, could also secure a top 10 spot here. I'm pretty sure with that performance, he's going to be a lock round 1. King, the best linebacker, RODERICK, ROBERSON, the best safety. He's also someone for the draft. Good agility, good speed, and he was especially good, both in terms of sacks and interceptions. So big play safety. Not crazy ratings here, but he has the stats. Kicker and punter are people too, but Scully only a freshman, and Malik Turpin as a punter, 78 overall. Yeah, let's be real and don't use the time for scouting punters. Senior Bowl with not many seniors, but maybe Jalen Carter is not even too bad. He seemed to have an impact. At least he's here in the Senior Bowl for Georgia, and let's see what that means for his draft stock. The college season comes to an end. CJ Stroud and the Ohio State Buckeyes win the college football championship here, and CJ Stroud is going to be the first overall pick. I don't think that there is much debate, but interesting to see how the other players turned out. We saw some interesting prospects and some players like Jackson Smith and Jigba who performed this season. And yeah, defensively, we know that Will Anderson is going to be good. We know that Jalen Carter is going to be good, but we also saw some crazy stats from small school prospects. So let's see if we can have a late round steal next week in the draft episode. For me, it was lots of fun to see the college players also perform in the college season. Let's hope that there are a few good ones where actually this performance is translatable to the NFL. I'm really looking forward to our first expansion team draft with real draft prospects. Let's see who's going to be available. Let's see how this draft class is going to turn out. Really excited for next week. I hope you are too. Have a nice week and see you next time. Bye bye.